And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast, episode 212, I believe. Episode 212 of the show you forgot you're subscribed to. If you didn't know, this is a premiere podcast for the website. cpluscomedy.com, like I just said, it's a website. Go there early Friday evening. That's what I was trying to say. I didn't know. I stopped halfway through because I got busy doing some stuff that, quite frankly, took it out of me. It's a very uneventful thing. It's just Anyway, here we are. We got a lot to talk about. I got no stories about my personal life. Not much going on. I discovered last night that I was going to bed, and like right before I was going to bed, and Nova, my cat, I bought this collar for her. Like the first couple of weeks I had her, and I put it around her as when she was a little bit skinnier. She's probably like a pound or two overweight right now, about a pound and a half overweight. And I'll turn myself up a little bit because I cannot hear myself whatsoever. That's one of the reasons why I'm so tired, or part of the reason I'm tired. Anyway, and I see on her collar there. In the collar, obviously she's grown in weight, and since I got her, she says she's got a little thick around the neck, and now this is all my bad, and I completely blame myself. But I look at the collar last night for whatever reason. I look at the collar, and I see red around it, and I go, or red around the front, and I go, what's going on? What's that happened? So I pull up on it, and there's just a gaping bald spot right here, and it's got like one open like wound or something, and I go, oh my gosh! And I pull off the collar. This has obviously been happening for a little bit, and there's on the front there's just like blood, and then on the sides, like you can see on her neck, there's a ring around the neck where the fur was, fur was basically, because a lot of it's gone. Only in the front, and then on the sides, and the back, it's leaving that area. But anyway, so it's not completely bald all the way around, just in that one big spot. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I already have some skin stuff for her for another spot she had. And I put it on her. And now I've been worried about her all day. And I put her cone on her. She has a cone that's not a cone. It's more like an airline pillow you put around their necks. And somehow that managed to get around her stomach when I came home today. And she was just sitting there, content with it. But I continue to spray the skin stuff on her, and hopefully it'll get healed soon. She does not have a collar right now, but when she's better, I have found a collar at my local pet store when I went to go buy her food about an hour ago, and we are ready to get that. But maybe hopefully it'll grow back in a couple of weeks or so. It was very sad to see that, and I've been thinking about it all day. All right, let's move on. You might hear Family Guy in the background because I did turn on Family Guy. I was watching some Olympic stuff for the 40 minutes I've been here, but I decided to turn on Family Guy, and that's not a story. That's nothing. That's nothing for you. That is nothing for you. Okay. Let's get into it. God, I hope it rains tonight so I can have just a peaceful night's sleep. I just want to go to bed. I just want to go to bed and not wake up. I'm so tired. All right, this first story. You know what? Hold on. I want to switch some stuff around because I kind of want. Yeah, screw it. Who cares? No one listens to the show anyway. This first story is about South Park and Viacom CBS's commitment to it. Now, I'm going to preface the story with earlier this year or late last year, one of those, doesn't really matter. Viacom CBS, after Viacom and CBS merged back into one company, they started doing some reshuffling around, and they basically said that MTV is going to become, trying to do like old MTV stuff, mostly reality stuff, and then Comedy Central is going to turn into the adult animated cartoon network. So they're going to get the new Beavis and Butthead as opposed to that going to MTV where it began. They're going to get Comedy Central's getting new Beavis and Butthead. South Park is obviously the mainstay. I think the Daria spinoff is going over there. I don't know. I can only imagine that everything that Viacom CBS does animated is going to be over there now. So this is a very big story and very important story in terms of the animated adult comedy cartoon space. Yeah, animated adult comedy space. I don't know why I said cartoon space. So this comes from the Hollywood Reporter, written by Ryan Parker and Alex Weprin. South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone signed $900 million Viacom CBS deal. 14 movies planned for Paramount Plus. Now, I got the email. I'm on Comedy Central's press kit. And I got this email and I thought, oh, this has to be a misprint. 14. I don't want to address. I don't care about the money. I want to address the movies first. It said 14 movies, 14, which is a giant number for this thing. So now the show was renewed until season 30. 2022 will see the launch of the 25th season, and the deal's worth $900 million. Okay, so so they're going to be doing 2 South Park movies every year. Now, before we address that, South Park used to do, if you remember, if like you're an earlier fan, they used to do seasons in halves. So one half was 7 episodes was in the spring, and another 7 episodes were in the winter time. Fall time, because it was never winter. So they used to do 14, and now they just do 10 episodes. Obviously, they couldn't do anything for the pandemic, so they did 2 1-hour specials, the pandemic special and the voter special. I think it was voting special. I don't remember. They're not particularly memorable. So the pandemic special, I believe, is on HBO Max. One of them is not. One of them is not on HBO Max. Because I had to record it on YouTube TV, I believe. But this movie thing makes me think. As soon as I saw the movie thing, I went, okay, 14 is too much. I don't think it's going to be, in order to be a movie, it has to be over like 63 minutes. And I think one of the shortest movies of all time is the Winnie the Pooh movie from 2012, I think. Let me see. Winnie the Pooh. 2011. I saw that movie. I rented it on, I want to say Netflix DVD. It is, let me see. It is on Disney Plus if you want to watch the movie. As I recall, I liked it. It's a children's cartoon. It's for children. 63 minutes, exactly 63 minutes. That's the minimum you can have to release a movie in theaters. And that's with credits. This is 63 minutes with credits. Credits. So let me see the South Park. So they have the South Park vaccination special you see there with Kyle if you're watching the video. And it's 46 minutes long. And that was a special that aired on Comedy Central. And then if we go deeper into... So then they have also the pandemic special, which was also a 47-minute special that aired. So that's part of season 24, whereas the vaccination special is not. Which I don't understand why that's not. But I think that these 14 movies, they're obviously doing 2 a year. I think that they're just going to be specials. I don't know why they're calling them films, because the only movie they've had was in 1998 with South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, and that also may not be the time. I bought that movie on DVD when I was too young to be watching South Park, and I still have the DVD. And I do think about that movie periodically because, in fact, I was thinking about it last night because I was listening to the Steven Universe the movie soundtrack. I was listening to a bunch of soundtracks, but Steven Universe the movie soundtrack, and I just think that, you know, there a lot of times when TV shows turn into movies, they feel like elongated episodes of the show. But I think I feel like I've talked about this before, or I've had this conversation with myself 1,000 times, which is basically the show. And there are movies that do it really well. I think the Simpsons movie is, and this is just, I know because I'm a huge Simpsons fan. I do think the Simpsons movie did a really good job with making it its own one-off thing, especially with Plopper, and they barely talk. They mentioned Plopper the pig is in the Simpsons season 21 after the movie, maybe like twice, and then he pops up maybe 3 more times throughout the rest of the show so far. And it just sucks. I don't let them have a new. I like continuity. Anyway, that's the last thing. That's the only thing I care about when it comes to continuing The Simpsons. Everything else I'm fine with. because I'm not a jerk. And I think the Brady Bunch movies did a pretty good job. And then Steven Universe, the movie, obviously. I think the regular show movie. I think truly it's these Cartoon Network and even Nickelodeon, the first SpongeBob movie. They all do, and you know what? I want to see the Loud House movie too. I don't even watch the Loud House. I do. I take naps to it. That's how I watch the new cartoons that come out today. Is I take naps on like a Saturday afternoon after I've worked out and grocery shopped and done all this stuff. Preparing for the evening when I hang out with my friends. I rolled my eyes. And so, anyway, all I say is South Park movie did really, I think it stood well on its own. And it had continuity into the show. So, Chris McCarthy, who's the entertainment chief of Viacom CBS, talks about franchising and this and that. And these special, getting to them to season 30 is obviously a great move. It's just like with Fox, with The Simpsons and Family Guy. Those shows are better being on. They make money for the network being on, as opposed to them, canceling them and then no one wants to syndicate, 3 seasons of The Simpsons or 4 seasons of Family Guy. That's why it's easier just to keep them on and keep them going, because also it's continued and dedicated viewers, The Simpsons and Family Guy have the same metrics, the same 2-3 million people that watch it every Sunday or within that 3-day time period. Although I don't think broadcast networks I don't think networks care about the same plus 3-day anymore. They've been forced not to. Now, speaking of networks, we're going on to the next story. This comes from Jennifer Moss over at The Wrap. Discovery hits 18 million paid streaming subscribers. Now, I also saw a story, and I don't have it down here because it doesn't really matter. But last week, I think I mentioned Paramount Plus, Viacom, going back to Viacom CBS, but Paramount Plus and Showtime, it is official, have a combined 36 million or 38 million. Dang it, I should have. Oh, God, I should have written this down. Showtime subscribers. Also, I spelled subscribers wildly wrong. Like, wildly wrong. So Viacom CBS touted 30 million global subscribers in February of this year. Paramount Plus and Showtime were 36 million. So I think they're at 38 million now. Let's say, excuse me. August 2021. Let's see for more. Oh God, it's 42 million. It's 42 million for August of this year. It's very interesting. But going back to Discovery, they're at 18 million. That is up from, I saw the thing. That is up from 13 million in Q1 and 15 million as of April 28th. So those are all great numbers, especially for something as, I'm going to go ahead and say it, niche as, the package was delivered right outside my front door. It's these supplements I ordered about a week and a half ago. Been low. That's why I'm so low on energy. But this is such an unexpected, I would say unexpected in my view, thing for Discovery, because it is a very niche operation. In that, and obvious, Discovery is, I think, besides NBC Universal and Viacom CBS, I think Discovery is single-handedly one of the bigger, more prosperity-driven cable providers, cable package, whatever, the networks, cable networks. Discovery is they have the, and they have a good amount of viewers, and they obviously had this move and played their hand, and it just works in their favor for making this app. And now they have 18 million subscribers, and then they also have some pretty interesting shows and specials that are coming out on that app. It's just, and now that they have Warner Media's HBO Max and HBO, they're gonna have, which have now 47 million. In the end, next year, this time next year, summer next year, they're gonna say, "Hey, we have I'll round it up, 50 and 20. We have 70 million subscribers. I mean, it's gonna be bigger than that, but we have 80 million subscribers, 70 to 80 million subscribers. We're the largest streaming company in the world, second largest streaming company in the world, and or third largest after Disney Plus. And it's like this is gonna combining is gonna bolster them, and that's why the FCC really needs to look into this stuff, into this merger stuff. FCC, did I say FCC? Anyway, FCC. I did a pre-interview for a media company, and I was talking about my last job, and it did involve some FCC stuff, and I've anyway. God, I hope I get one of the 7 jobs I interviewed for in the past month. I'm optimistic. Now this next one comes from Deadline, written by, I had to click the thing before it even loads up. Dade Hayes. NBCU's Fandango. I know I just said I clicked the thing before it even loads up. I understand what I said. I'm tired. NBCU's Fandango combines VUDU, FandangoNow, into a single streaming outlet that will be Roku's official movie and TV store. So Walmart sold off. Pop-ups are the worst. Walmart sold off VUDU. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah. Walmart sold off VUDU. Yeah, I'm correct. Walmart sold VUDU. VUDU, if you remember, you recall correctly, it was Walmart's way of getting into the streaming platform. I believe Walmart bought it in 2011. That's what it says. 2011 for $100 million. And they tried to basically fight Amazon. Amazon, you can rent movies and buy DVDs, but more importantly, rent movies. For Walmart's VUDU, when it owned it from these past 10 years, it was a way for them to rent movies and sell TV shows and sell movies, but also it had there's this really killer feature that I tried to use, and it only works on certain movies, and it's only movies, where it's called disc to digital. And if you own a DVD, all you have to do is scan the URL on the back, the barcode on the back, scan the barcode on the back of the DVD, and if they had a digital copy, well, if the studio allowed you to do it, and then if they had a digital copy of the movie, then you got that digital copy on your VUDU service. And I always thought that was so cool. And I remember trying it with a couple of movies, and not a lot of studios are part of it, but some big studios are. It's kind of like Movies Anywhere. Not a lot of studios are part. I mean, 5 of the big studios are part of it, but a lot aren't. Like Paramount. I wish Paramount would join. And some other ones, because there's some digital movies that I own on on Apple, iTunes. There is on VUDU, on some other disparate services. They're all connected to Movies Anywhere, but they're not. You can't watch those movies outside of those services that I bought them on. Anyway, we're lucky. We're lucky to be alive. Who cares? We're lucky to be alive. If I have to open up another app to watch a movie, a movie from the clouds. I got a movie from the clouds. So Walmart owned VUDU for 10 years. 10 years. And they decided to step out. Like they weren't, and now with VUDU over the past couple of years, Walmart introduced the ability to watch free stuff. There's the same free stuff you see on Tubi or on Crackle or on IMDb TV now. Sonic X and a bunch of movies starring black people that should never have been made. It's all movies like Cooking Out with the Joneses and I Wish I'd Never Married Him. It's funny because I can definitely see the covers to the movies in my head. It's just... Maybe I should just make a movie. So the service is available in more than 75 million U.S. households with connected TV devices. and recent NPD group estimates said. But now this new VUDU was sold to Fandango, which is owned by NBC Universal, and then NBC Universal said VUDU's a bigger name, kill off Fandango. Fandango also had its own streaming platform, and they said like, hey, let's merge Fandango and VUDU, and we'll just call everything under the VUDU name, and it works. Also, this is also a very important thing. Roku, you could rent movies and watch things via Roku, but like on Roku, like Roku had its own store where you can rent movies and stuff. But now VUDU is becoming Roku's official storefront, which is a blessing. It is a blessing. There's no curse here. I think that's a killer move for them because it takes off the pain of having to run a storefront. If you've never had to, like, if you go to Squarespace or something and you try to, and like you're like, hey, I want to do a blog, and then you're paying, $16 per month to do a blog, and then you want to turn that into a business and you want to sell stuff. Well, Squarespace and every other internet website, every website provider is going to charge you because it costs money to get people's credit cards and use them and transactions and all that stuff to use their credit cards. But I mean, this is going to alleviate the pain off of Roku's back end, and they're going to be able to just focus on what's important, and that is providing channels and the best, possible TV app-like experience out there. So you can transfer your account if you have Fandango now, which I did, and I think I only used it because there was a free movie at some point. And VUDU was one of the first apps, the first TV apps to offer 4K streaming and Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision. It's funny because there are Discovery Plus. There are a lot of streaming apps out there now that don't even offer that stuff. Apple TV launched with it. Or you have to pay extra for it. Netflix, you have to pay extra for it. Apple TV, Disney Plus, they both launched with it. Hulu, you have to dig around for 4K stuff. I don't think HBO Max launched with it, but don't quote me on that. But this is a beautiful thing to see. I can see it happening. This next one comes from The Verge. This one actually happened last Friday. I remember setting this up. Written by Ashley Carmen, the hosts of The Nod ditched Spotify to relaunch their original show. This is a story that's been dating back for a little bit now. The hosts of The Nod have always had an issue with how their podcast has been handled. Now, more recently, they've separated from Gimlet Media and Spotify. They were a Spotify-only podcast and are instead taking their work to SiriusXM Stitcher. Interesting. Brady Luce and Eric Eddings tell The Verge today that they're relaunching their Black culture show for colored nerds this fall, which they created, hosted, and produced prior to working at Gimlet. The podcast will be available widely and is an exclusive one platform, which is interesting because there are some SiriusXM shows that are available only on SiriusXM. I guess they treat them like radio shows, but I've listened to a couple, and And then for Stitcher, they also have Stitcher Premium, which you can only listen to Stitcher on Stitcher, platform, or you get the unofficial RSS feeds, which is probably the way to go. Stitcher's going to produce the show. SiriusXM Media is going to sell ads for it. So this show, they basically killed off for colored nerds in 2017 when they started The Nod. I remember back last year. Last year they spoke out. Yeah, it's in the article. Last year they spoke about frustration about Gimlet's control over The Nod's feed and IP. Basically, when you sign up for a show now, when you used to start a show, Never Not Funny. I'm wearing the shirt right now. When Jimmy and Matt started the show, way back when podcasting wasn't even a thing, they basically retained the copy. They have the rights to that. But now that you're starting a show and you want to make money off of it, and you want to work with these big companies, if I start a show at Earwolf, they own the show. I'd have to bring, like, if I brought the Constitutionals, then it's mine. But if I started a new show over there, it's theirs because they own that IP, they own that property, and I can't do anything else. It's like when Conan left, or when Conan was forced to leave NBC, he had to sign a contract where he couldn't be on TV for 6 months. And then when he started a new show on TBS, it was Conan. The same format, same exact thing, but it wasn't the Tonight Show. It wasn't late night. So Eddings and Luce pitched, hosted, and produced the show, the Nod, and felt like they owned it, but they never did. They didn't have the right. They also didn't have rights to merchandising, and they had to do the ads that the company sold. And we also had that problem with Joe Budden, if you remember that, from a couple of months ago. Even though he's insane, but it's the Ringer, and now they're, that's why people are, podcast unions and stuff like this. The Ringer and Gimlet unions strive to reach an agreement on IP, but weren't able to secure anything in their final contract with Spotify. In a chat with, I think the only person who made out like a band, like there's two people who made out, really well on these deals that are known to the public, is Alex Gibney, I think, who started Gimlet, and then Bill Simmons from the Ringer. Is that true? I don't know how much Bill Simmons made. I mean, maybe he made a killing off of this deal. And they're smart. They're smart people. Like truly. Like that's why they started the Ringer and Gimlet. But obviously they're two different companies. But now, man, we're at a point where, going back to Conan. Conan is only doing a podcast for now until the HBO Max show starts next year at some point. And everybody's doing a podcast, and Obama and Springsteen. They're doing a podcast. I think that was a Gimlet production. Dax Shepard moved over to Spotify only. So did Joe Rogan. It's when something becomes popular and it becomes a business, then it just gets diluted with this stuff, and it's just not fun anymore. And now podcasting, that's what it is. It's becoming a business. And I'm just Next up, this comes from Variety. Written by Brian Steinberg, Lorne Michaels to Saturday Night Live cast veterans, stay a little longer, parentheses, exclusive, all caps. So this past year I'm going to quote an SNL sketch, a sketch that I thought about last week when I was making dinner, and I kept thinking of like how funny it was, and I watched it again, and I laughed just as hard as I did when I first saw it. All that to say is a very funny sketch. It's the unprecedented sketch during Bill Burr's episode. They're all on a porch doing a socially distanced cookout, and he and his wife go, "It's unprecedented." Kate McKinnon, it's unprecedented. And they're like, "You mean it's unprecedented?" No, it's like it's unprecedented. Without president. So stupid. Oh, that's good. Okay, but anyway, this past year of SNL was unprecedented, and there were rumors that there are a lot of people who have their own. So, in the past, you basically couldn't do SNL and work on something else at the same time. You had to do that, whatever you're doing on the hiatus weeks or the off weeks or whatever. But now, in the past year or two, you see Pete Davidson missing a month or two straight of SNL episodes because he's down here in Atlanta shooting Suicide Squad or shooting something else. A.D. Bryant missed, several weeks. Cecily Strong for Shrill on Hulu. Cecily Strong missed several weeks for Schmigadoon. And Kenan Thompson and Chris Redd both missed a couple of weeks here and there because of Kenan on NBC. And I've seen all of these shows. And I have not seen Suicide Squad yet. They come out today, and I'll probably watch it next week. My anti-superhero bias is now just gone. I don't care anymore. I'll watch Loki. I'll watch WandaVision and Superman and the Winter Soldier. What's Falcon It's all the same thing. I'll watch it all. Who gives a crap anymore? My morals are gone. And so now, like, they've missed all of these episodes, but the cast was so big, and I think like so good that it really didn't matter. But now a lot of those people that I just named, Cecily and even Kate McKinnon, Adie Bryant, and Keenan, they have, especially Keenan, they have their contracts are essentially up. They've been on the show for 6, 7, 15 years, and typically that's when people leave. But I think Keenan's been on for 17 because I remember thinking he should make it an even 20 then leave. But now Lorne might, and so basically they, there's chatter around them leaving. Nobody knows the real answer. And now is around the time when those contracts are finalized. Also, I mean, I know it's August 6th, but the show starts in October. We haven't heard of anybody getting fired. Like none of the featured players are fired, like Andrew Dismukes or Lauren or Punky. So I think that's a really good sign for them. But now Lorne Michaels is basically, it's said that he's saying don't. He's saying please don't. Also, why would you leave during a time, why would you leave after a pandemic? If I left SNL, if I was on SNL for 7 seasons, I'd want to leave with not a pandemic crowd. Obviously their crowd was, they had masks on and they were full during those last couple episodes, but I want to leave when I get a chance to have a very like an episode an episode of with a bunch of people. A bunch of people watching. SNL is about to enter its 47th season. I haven't even gotten to the article yet. It's about to enter its 47th season. But Michaels hopes to get some of the cast members to agree to stay through the 50th. The 50th. It's crazy. And that's going to start, and the 50th starts in 2024. So he's saying just stay on for a couple more years. And I mean, that's, I know, look, and this might be, the guy who doesn't have a full-time job right now, and the guy who loves the show, not knowing how hard and how difficult it is, but hearing how hard and how difficult it is. But the thing is, I would stay. You get paid a really handsome salary. Now Lauren is a little more lax on you going off and doing something during the season. I would stay. Truth be told, I would just stay. It's a good paycheck. You're in front of the camera, and if something comes your way that this is that you want to do, then maybe you'll have a chance to do it. And you see contract, not disputes, but you see contract talk like this a lot with I want to go back to the DC superhero shows. Melissa Benoist is, she's done with Supergirl. Stephen Amell's done with Arrow, and basically they left those shows and they didn't want to do it anymore because, they want to do something else. And Melissa Benoist has been open about wanting to do something else. Same thing for Grant Gustin on The Flash. Let's not pretend he's not ready to go. I'll tell you what, those writers are ready to go. Get them out of here. Let me write all 24 episodes next season. I'll get you something good. You give me some good villains, I will get you better. I'll get you a better season of Flash. And they're up in Vancouver, and I'd say a good number of them live in Los Angeles. I'd probably say a majority of them live in Los Angeles. And they're up in Vancouver shooting these shows for weeks to months on end. But man, I'll tell you what, there are some starving actors, writers, directors, producers, crew people. There are some people that will take those jobs in a heartbeat. I get that you're working that hard and that long, but you remember those times when you weren't working that hard and that long? And Melissa was able to do that show with old dude from God, Friday Night Lights. Riggins. What's his real name? I don't care. He was also John Carter on Mars. God, that movie was boring. Okay. So they talk about how SNL demonstrated elasticity, blah blah blah. SNL's the most watched entertainment program on TV among its viewers. Blah blah blah. Average ad costs, all that stuff. McKinnon, how she said it's early and she doesn't know whether she's gonna stay or not. Whatever. Basically, I just covered the entire thing off the top of my head. I mean, so it's interesting. I don't know. It's interesting. I always say that. I mean, if I were them, and I'm going to try to separate and distance myself from the situation, from my current situation of not, currently being in industry, I would just take the job and stay. Oh my gosh. I mean, you see you had to work from home and you had to shoot an episode from home and yeah, you have to stay up on Tuesdays and Mondays and it's stressful and stuff, but I don't know. You're successful. You've already earned your way there. So anyway, and last but not least, this also came out last week, and I just wanted to mention it cursory glance. This is from the Wall Street Journal, written by Julie Jargon. Let it go? ? Disney princess culture isn't toxic, study finds. Something's happening on Family Guy. Somebody's singing. I hope I don't get a content strike. This show on YouTube, my show, The Constitutionals, gets a content strike. I think because of the theme song. Which, whatever. I don't put ads. I don't put ads in. I refuse to do that. Even if this had 20,000 listeners, I wouldn't do that. No ads. It's a free show. I just find that frustrating. YouTube has become frustrating, but it's the only place. And it will be. There's no other place will ever come out to do that. For years, scholars have suggested that the classic Disney trope, the damsel in distress, can damage girls' sense of self-worth and also negatively shape boys' views of goyles and of their own masculinity. And turns out that is wrong. Disney has, for years, been making its princesses tougher and more self-reliant, but not more diversified. A recent study shows that even kids immersed in classic Disney films such as Sleeping Beauty and The Beauty and the Beast managed to develop what researchers say are healthier views about gender roles. The study adds weight to the argument that, like video games that young children play, the content they spend hours watching on TVs and iPads might not have a profound impact on their development that parents fear. The author is Brigham Young University Human Development Professor Sarah Coyne, one of the researchers whose earlier work helped fuel cautionary headlines. Interesting. It's always interesting. It's always fun when you see a scientist kind of basically walk back what they say with a subsequent study. Dr. Coyne found that kids who were really into princesses at around age 5 were more likely by age 10 to hold progressive views about gender roles and to reject the idea that boys should stifle their emotions. At some point, can't we just say that these are cartoon films that don't do anything? Anyway, I thought that was a very interesting, very good analysis and good article, a feature piece in regards to the typical thing of what we see. I remember on the show I'm Sorry, Andrea Savage, there was a whole episode about her daughter. How she or maybe there's just a quip about how she doesn't show her daughter Disney stuff, or maybe she was on a podcast, I don't know, or princess stuff. And it's just we're in a different time. As long as you teach your kids, what's right and what's wrong, they're not going to believe what's on television or movies. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into this because I am tired. Like I said before, listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to your favorite comedians. Also, head to the URL youtube.com/C plus comedy, where you can see a video version of the show as well as the premiere show for C plus comedy. It's called News Time. It's a weekly news show. This week's episode is about last week's marquee story on the Constitutionalist podcast, which was Scarlett Johansson suing Disney and Marvel. And again, I continue to agree with her. She's my mortal enemy. I continue to agree with her in regards to this whole situation. It's an episode I had to cobble together, but man, oh man, it's good. I think so, at least. Left out some details, but that's per usual over here on C Plus Comedy. Twitter, Instagram at C Plus Comedy, Facebook at C Plus Comedy, Twitter, Instagram at Chad Black White. Rate, review, subscribe to the show, tell your friends about it. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. Goodbye.